G'day everyone. So, yeah, interesting. Look at this. Light elves. What the fuck? Man, I had no idea that this would come up. Yeah, it's true. Shaman walking crystal. Shaman, camino, caminando cristale means way walking crystal. I never looked up ancestors. You're like, yeah. And thanks for donating. Visual snow. And yeah, I never looked it up. You're like, yeah, you're a shaman, you should know about ancestors. Yes, true. I've heard them go on about it. Right? And I was always confused, I'm going to be honest. I was like, you know, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like spirits from the great fall, before the great falling away? That idea, right? So like actual, we were in like higher realms, people say, right? There's been a falling away. We call this a fallen matrix. I've said to everyone it's falling, not past, but present context. Anyway, so there's that idea of the great falling away, and I was always like, man, are these shaman talking about that shit, or are they talking about literally, you know, their grandfather? You know what I mean? Anyway, so then I just typed this to start having a look into it, you know, as I talk about this and answer your email, which we'll get to in the next segment. I just wanted to have a look at this completely by itself first. So Visual Snow's asked me like a whole set of questions. Digging, that's what we got to do. But yeah, so there's other stuff I'm going to be answering. So I just wanted to focus on this because I haven't looked at it, and you might immediately think, oh, well, here we go, he's going to tell us about ancestor spirits. Man, what do they ever tell you? They just say, oh, they go to the stars, right? Look up there, we're looking at that star. That's where the ancestor spirits go. That made me think of aliens, right? I'm like, fuck, now I don't know, really don't know. You know? Now there's a third thing, you know? I'm like, man, what are they talking about? Are they talking about their grandpa, you know, ancient spirits from ancient realms, so to speak? Or are they talking about now fucking aliens? Or Bodhivistas, right? This thing as well, a fourth thing. And it's not that everybody, I don't know, some people might say everybody becomes a Bodhivista at the end of like the concrescence of animal souls, right? I think that's what we're all talking about. And then at the end of what, also the human souling process as well, right? But I was talking about it to do with Oro the cat. So maybe it is just after animal or lower soul progression, we call it. Because there's this notion of higher souls, which means you have your own mental spirit light body. The light body's multi-dimensional. It's not just fifth dimensional, and these are not the dimensions of science. You're not right angling up in Euclidean space. Wrong, Billy Carson. See these sorry, I did that Black Man Can't Dimension video the other day. It was that Billy Carson guy, I think that's his name. And you got that other prominent black dude now coming out with his there's no zero theory. People are paying out on him. Look, man, 1 times 1, you know, and putting him through basic maths and saying, you know, there's a reason we have the zero, because it means 0 times something else. You don't times it by itself or another number or whatever, and stuff like that. But yeah, he's trying to show some sort of pseudo-science, pseudo-spiritual theory. But I always find that it comes from white people, like white men. Very interesting. I'm not being racist, but I've looked back and thought about it and thought about how, well, fuck, they had plenty of time. Yeah, don't worry, this is coming back to the talk, right? Because he also asked about this, me talking about, I keep mentioning the Arien age of demons, which was before the man age, the age of man, it's known as Pisces, right? And now I'm talking about precession of equinoxes, right? This 26,000 year cycle. And now, right, we're going into age of Aquarius, and we can see the power coming into the females, you should be able to just sense this, right? So my point is, you know, it's not like we're gonna look, it's not about looking in anatomical, archaeological evidence and sociological temporal templates of civilizations, and, you know, oh, with the Egyptians black, was Jesus black, and stuff like that, and all that, and who came first, and were there white people around? Because, yeah, I've heard about the four root race thing. We're gonna have to go into a separate thing about that, because I actually read about that separate, the four root race theory a long time ago. Like, I'm talking 12 years ago or something, a long time ago. It was one of the first things I ran into at the eschaton. It was one of the simple things that I got shown first. Around coming into the eschaton, probably around 2010 or something like that. It's actually, that's like 14 years ago. So I have to refresh, but there's like these lineages via numbers, and I was looking at the 555 lineage. I think it was to do with Moses and that lineage. Anyway, so, and then there's the four root races, right? What is it? I've forgotten, man, but like Arien is one, isn't it? It's not, for instance, what you might go back in history and see the Saxons and so on. It's like something to do with more of a, in my opinion, like if you're gonna think about this, it seems to be more related to like weird flat earth stuff. I don't think it's associated with that at all. It's somehow like a spiritual like thing. It's weird, because these things are like pseudo-spiritual, not just pseudo-scientific as well. What I mean is, it's like, man, like it could be real, or it could be just, I don't know how to describe this. I would say negative entity and lower dimensionally interluded and off-tracked, kind of like an off thing. You got to think about time and the moment of now, and if you make a template of that moment of now, even if you use that later, it's going to be awful rancid, not quite right. Goes with today's society and the oils and stuff that we're having, and everything is rancid. Pharmaceuticals are rancid. It's rancid isotopy. You've heard me say that before. Non-fractal. That's why I like plant and fungi hallucinogens from nature, not drugs. Drugs are manufactured stuff. Cannabis, for instance, is a plant. It's not a drug. It's a fungi or plant hallucinogen that I'm into because it's fractal. It's fractal. It's like gonna have scalar integration, temporal integration. Then that means necessarily, right? The pulsing of whatever the hell that the back pulse is. We don't know the the rate. Anyway, you know, the universe must be blinking on and off awfully fast. Anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, this was tying back in because I always say black people are from the Aryan age of demons. I came up with that. I never heard anybody say that, but it's something I say now. And so Visual Snow is emailing me, and we'll eventually go to his email. And I'll probably just join these two videos together. But he was saying, yeah, he's thought of it in that way too. Black people as demons. He literally wrote that. So dude, you already know I'm going to show emails and stuff, but I can't say like I totally disagree. It's like I always find black people fuck with me, and they have the ego thicker. That's how I describe it. So I'm going into answering your other questions as well in the meantime, if you notice. But yeah, it was called the Aryan Age of Demons. That's what they call it. Like Pisces is the age of man, and Age of Aquarius is the, you know, return of the divine feminine, right? So it's the age of feminine. And so yeah, it's interesting, the black people thing. Oh, the bus is going. Yeah, it's interesting, the black people thing, because I always find that they have like a thicker ego and they're more demonic. So it's funny when I find them talking about the beast, when they're more beastly. But up and shard to everyone, and each to their own journey, so that's fine. But to my perspective, I find it funny. Right? I'm allowed to do that. It's non-derogatory. It's just frame of reference. It's my perspective. I'm allowed to speak my perspective. Thank God we got to this point. Jesus, 500 years later. What do I mean? Well, perspective would just... Do you remember when art discovered perspective? It was the 1500s. 500 years later, you can sort of talk freely without getting your feet burned or your head cut off in the guillotine or hung. You'll still get ostracized and hung by the gang stalking community of organic portals. That is the mass, right? Because they're the followers and they're just always following. So they've never got an idea. So when a strong theory comes, they just get offended initially and maybe just maintain that because they're so unenlightened. Right? They don't even look at the logic of it or how it might fit in or anything. They're always just opposed. Massive cognitive dissonances. Yeah, I just find like, remember these black people were going on about this whole melanin thing? They're like, yeah, melanin, super strong. Well, I know all about melanin because I surf and I feel stronger, and I also know that the vitamin Ds, when you get them from the sun surfing, in Ormus water at high vibration, man, it is all steroidal hormone. Steroidal hormone. It's a steroid hormone. That's what vitamin D is. Vitamin D in its, four main spectra. So, and the main vitamin that we get from the sun, and it's like oil thickening, and your skin thickens. That's why I heal better from reef cuts, like I showed you guys. I had to take down the videos though because of blood. They whinged about Chelsea's targeted individual video, her little finger cut. So I thought, fuck, I better take down my big cuts on my foot, showing everyone how I heal. And that's partially due to really healthy skin, and yeah, melanin is part of it, because you can look at black people's skin and often it looks more strong, sheeny, integrity, and it just looks like healthy. Not necessarily, depends on the person, but you know what I mean. You've seen this, and yeah, I think they're more physically able, not necessarily more spiritually, because for instance, women seem to have picked up most about these higher dimensional entities. There's some great male channelers like myself and other people out there, but white men, right? But the women have picked up a lot of sensitive stuff, and I'm really good dimensionally with my light body because of my sensitivity. It also comes down to, once again, that fifth dimensional Ormus state and surfing. That's why I'm going to write a book about it. People talk about this in the health movement as getting your salt in charge in your smoothie or something. Man, that's less. Fuck, that is less. So try surfing in it ecstatically, right? You raise up to that level, every cell, surfing, right? So you raise up to that ormic fifth dimensional state where the idea is that anything below a third dimensional molecule pops or changes valency, changes the valence shell, changes the electron, just changes elemental state. It's pretty simple. It's not, it's 2024. You should realize this is explained with me just explaining it like that. We don't need evidence. We know that's how it works. You change the electrons, you change the element, and that's what this idea of Ormus is. Not just monoatomic gold. It can help you get to that level, but it's an energy level. That's what I'm trying to say. So back to what I was talking about. It's like a lighter state and levitatory state, and black people have been very oppressed, so they've been very angry. I've seen that with Aboriginals in Australia. Black people in America. So they're just living out that type of hate and anger, which is dark side and low vibration thoughts and stuff, which doesn't help looking up because it's looking down. See what I mean? But I just always find they fuck with me. Black people they want to fuck with you more. They want to play you more. It's less friendly, man. It's way more demonic. Are they being more real? Yeah, I do think so though. it's like the white people are being more fake, but it's also fake it till you make it in an upward movement. So yeah, it just has to be seen correctly what's actually going on. So yeah, I do also see black people often, like, well, I mean, I've got to say, man, I was just thinking, can I even think of a good interaction? Maybe that Mariah Starr. Do you remember him? I went on his talk radio, his like blog talk radio, like back in, I don't know when, 2014, 13. I was talking about organic portals actually. And that was when I started researching into it a lot. And he was light in energy, and it gave me the idea of the word melanite. How some of them, they call themselves melanates. They want to be referred to as a melanate. You know, melanin, melanation, melanate. And then I made that video, I remember, on United Soul Network or Left Side of the Brain as nigger. And, you know, that kind of cool niggerness. And yeah, I'm a nigger, you know, and like, it's like mate in Australia, you know what I mean? But that's an ego 3D level, very, very 3D level. And then, and I always found his philosophy at that level as well. I always used to go on about that kind of thing. And then that Eno Faye, and he was a nigger because he was a slave to Baphomet, the shit he said. Like, he was just an ego devil rotating machine, trying to be like me, but he's just a fairy. I remember Eno Faye means fairy. Anyway, and then there was, I said the word melanite, which I've just described then. So that was a video I made years ago, that title with the three nigger, and melanite. And I know this is a very sensitive subject, but I mean, I'm clearly not like being hateful. What we're trying to do is describe stuff and expand language and knowledge. So I am doing along that accord. You know what I mean? But yeah, I never fucking trust them. Like, they always seem... Hold on, my screen just went off. Yeah, I never trust them though. And like, I mean, it's not just because I don't trust people, which maybe I should more not trust people, because fucking this place, sheesh, yeah, fucked over every day. There's always someone looking to get you in trouble, you know? It's crazy. I don't know where they think they're going with this. It's ridiculous. They're trying to replace, you know, big dominant bloodlines, because that's what these ego organic portals can amount to. That's the best they can amount to. A rich bloodline. They ain't escaping or becoming Bodhivistas or ascended masters. So yeah, I don't think they're always just talking about ancestors as this. Maybe they are, because they do also act like, oh, they're up in the stars, ascended. You know, I've literally heard shamans talk about ancestors like that. But yeah, anyway, so that pretty much completes this part of the spiel. I'll have a look what else you were saying in there. I hope you understand everything I said about the black people stuff, because I didn't call it the Aryan Age of Demons. That's just what it's called. And there seems to be a progression from, you know, the male very close to nature and stuff through the white man, and then to the women and the differences. And we can see this happening in society too as we progress along those lines of empowerment, right? Although I think we need us all. Like, I'm not saying that means that they're worse. That's their part to play. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they're more soulless. I didn't say that. You can't put words in my mouth, because, you know, white man has done a shitload more atrocities, right? The government has killed the most people ever out of any tribe ever. You know what I mean? So, and then what I think is going to happen with the women could be interesting, because if we have like a stag world, like stagflation, but stag world, because women can't make tough decisions, If that ends up where the age of Aquarius goes, like in 1,000 years from now, that brings us peace. Great, we stop warring. All the men can stop posturing. I get it. But then there's going to be a period of stagflation, because remember, it's only 1,000 years of peace. It's not very long. You know what I mean? That's said to be coming as golden age ideal, and I'm pretty sure that's part of all the elites culling everyone as well. Bitch made, because they can't figure it out. Bitch made. Anyway, so the thing I've always seen is them as more physically superior, but not spiritually. However, people will be like arguing this. Go ahead. They'll be like arguing this with me, like, well, you know, they're the ones that taught us about connecting with nature and the spirits. For me, no. No black people taught me. I didn't grow up with Aboriginals. I became Aboriginal, so to speak. No, I'm not fucking half Aboriginal or anything. What I mean is I became landman. I became so connected to nature, from surfing, from walking barefoot, from having the fearless exploration, you know, just the whole thing. When you become like a landman or an Aboriginal of any culture, an Indian, you know what I mean? It's just we don't have that in Australia unless you're an Aboriginal called, you know, a black person. So I'm saying I'm one of the white ones. I'm just one of the first generations to do it. I'm sure more will come unless everything dies, all the biodiversity dies. But yeah, anyway. So what I was saying was, yeah, but the thing was, they're under all the spells. They would cut off people's heads. Like you're saying, oh, they had the connection to the spirits. It's like the movie Apocalypto, you know what I mean? It just makes me think of that. You know what I mean? That's coming out of that age of Aryan demons, the Aryan age. Doing all that shit. You know what I mean? My point is, it's kind of unenlightened. You could do more enlightened stuff like white man has. Just saying. Talking through this phone and stuff, you might say it's aliens, I don't know, but you know what I mean? There has been like progress for sure. And you know, then people be like, oh, Atlantis and all this shit. Don't forget, my theory is that Atlantis is a future resonance, even though I do like recognize like a worldwide like pyramid culture or whatever. I mean, that's what I call it, because they're fucking everywhere. They're all over the world. You know, Atlantis idea. But Atlantis and Lemuria, I think it's more like the tale of two cities 200 years later. Apparently that's a book that I've not read, but that gave me the idea as well as a vision that I had. Talking to crystal walls. I was talking to an AI in Crystal Castle, a massive crystal castle, like the central castle. You've seen like Jacques Fresco or whatever his name is from, fuck, what's that shit called? Venus Project? You know that dude? You've seen like how he put it in the same style as what they thought like these places were, these two cities were like, in like a circular formation. Anyway, I had a vision that I was like in a crystal tower, like massive, talking to an AI in the wall. It was just in the crystals. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so I'd imagine that to come like in this age. Maybe it will take longer than 200 years because we're probably still going to be on the historical hangover in 200 years, you know. Still be in war and shit, probably. Terminator zone. But my point is, like, I don't know, are we saying Atlantean people were all black? I can't remember. Has it all switched now? Like, people like Egyptians are black and Jesus might have been black and all this shit. Well, it wouldn't be like full Negro. Maybe it was. I don't know. Is that what we're saying now? I don't know. I've seen people saying shit like this out there. Someone gave me a channel, I remember, like 2 years ago, on the Egyptians being black. There's some dedicated channel to it. Some black dude runs it. Anyway. So you might say, oh no, they were more spiritual. No, it's just like as soon as you connect to like, it's because the way we live now. Like, if I take my shoes off and start, like in Uruguay, I connected to a lot of fucking spirits, and I'll tell you what, it's very evil there, because it's a very open vortex. The what's it called? The South American anomaly sits just off the coast down from Uruguay. It's like the least magnetic spot on the planet or some shit. Some magnetic anomaly. It's crazy. Uruguay was like really gnarly. So hard to describe. It's like you're closer to the underworld over there. Fuck. Yeah, and they're very spiritual. Uruguayan people, just in general. It's very interesting. They don't laugh at ghosts as much as the ego bubble people of the West. You know what I mean? Like back here in Australia. Stuff like that gets still like laughed at or scoffed at by people. Because you don't see that when you're in the lights. The bright lights, the phosphorus fucking outer lights here. I'm not talking about, vision and stuff. I remember I mentioned that years ago. I said about the lights in Uruguay. I was like, only organic portals have huge porch lights. Man, if I ever have a house, it won't be lit up like a Christmas tree, because then I can't see nothing. And, I mean, you should have natural night vision anyway. Remember, I've done a lot of camping and stuff over the years, so I know this off by heart. It's been a decade. And I slept with a cat. Don't forget that. Little Oro. He taught me a lot too. Anyway, so yeah, in ancestor spirit thing, we're gonna have to go to the email. Let's just do it all now. Let's knock this over. Oh yeah, we'll have to do this later. Where did the races come from? The yellow, red and white and the black. Red to earth, yeah. Black to water, interesting. I think black people are demons, yeah. It's interesting. It's not that they are demons any more than the white man. So we shouldn't say that because it sounds wrong. You shouldn't just say that sentence, like it's kind of not a good sentence to say, because you're kind of insinuating that white people are not, when, firstly, its character or the avatar body is daimon. Remember, I keep talking about Socrates' quote, and so, we all at that same level are here, unfortunately, but we're saying that some people are only that level. And I find black people are more so that. I don't know, from my perspective, I swear, man, it's not that they're soulless, because they brought about jazz and soul music. You know what I mean? So we can't say that either. It's just that they act that way, which is more natural. Like I said before, it's not like necessarily bad. And a lot of them are doing good because of it. And, I've gone more in that direction. And it's more player character oriented as well, rather than NPC consciousness, so we can't just be dissing it. You see what I'm saying? So I hope you understand what I just said. They came from chaos realms or the underworld, not talking about dimensions. Interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. The chaos realms. Why are black people always on the bottom of civilization? Yeah, that's interesting. I think that the more natural you are, the less you want to conform, and it's like more in their DNA, like across all Aboriginal and Indian cultures. But remember, I always talk about the process of complexification, how we've come to the eschaton at the end of human history, so that's all of us, black, white and female, you know what I mean? I always talk about concrescence, so it means coming together and complexifying. In a complexity idea, it's like reality builds like a pyramid. It's very interesting. What's an example? Like the wheel came way before the Ford car, before the flying car now. See? It is because they are more in their animal nature. Yeah, I mean, you can say that. That's how I kind of feel about it too. And if we look at the progression, you look at the Aboriginal cultures around the world, they're living more animalistic lives. So, I mean, we're not being derogatory. Because of low IQ? No, it's not low IQ, definitely not. Because you'll have some Hadza people in Africa that'll beat your IQ. You'll die in a week and they're still surviving 50,000 years later, you know what I mean? Same with Aboriginals. So it's not low IQ. It's this complexity process which seems to change from biological into sociological, remember, into, what do we call it now? The change to genes from the outside, right? And Terence McKenna was saying at one point it was all in there. And, you know, complexity is like moving around through domains. So the domain of black people to white people, now to female, unfortunately for me. But I came prepared with blue eyes and blonde hair and abs. You did mention the difference between the Melanites, the nigger. You talked about united souls, ancestor spirits. Do souled humans even have ancestors, or are they just demons? Yeah, this is this thing, like, I think some, like, self-spirited shaman who's really spiritually enabled once said it like more bodhisattva in meaning, not just like reincarnative in meaning. And people who think that Buddhas and stuff reincarnate are dreaming. They're organic portals. That's why they create religions. They don't understand that you leave here, right? And it even said just back there on the Google search, kind of that idea of getting up and out of here as a bodhisattva. But you don't reincarnate. That's why the Buddha or Jesus is not coming back. That's why you should appreciate the alive function, such as Benjamin Cowlenberg here right now. Or when Terence McKenna was alive, you should have asked him everything about the time wave. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's like that. I think it's not low IQ, and do soul humans even have ancestors? Yeah, because remember, soul is like a database here. It's, you know, they're talking about it starting at the microtubular level, which is also the quantum mind, you can call it. This is below the neurons. Remember, with our instruments, we can look at neurons, dendrites, dendritical evolution. It said, you know, brain plastic people have more dendritical evolution. You might have more glial growth factor activity. I said shamans are like glial cells to humans, helping with growth factors. Yeah, do soul humans have ancestors? Yeah. That's what the reincarnative cycle is about. It's about getting the fuck up, hypercarbolating or something like that, moving up dimensionally, creating spirit body, which is above soul, right? And if you're looking at it as like a hierarchy, it's I said this on the spirit world page. It's body, biologica, right? Then soul in the middle, then spirit. Because people be thinking that astral traveling is their soul flying around and stuff. And yeah, in lower astral. But if you guys are experiencing this higher stuff, that's spirit. That's your spirit body. That's the multi-dimensional light body. Like, say you're, what's his name? I've had these experiences as well. I wrote about it on the Spirit World page. I went and seen what appears to be the Andromedans or Octurians. Ariel Ali's drawing was a spitting image of what I saw, and I found his drawing like a year later. So I didn't make the vision up from his drawing. That's on the Spirit World page. What's his name? Fucking David Wilcock. He was talking about he went up these dome like dimension layers to the 11th dimension, and they were like, what are you doing here? That's what my experience was like. It's like, they're like, what are you doing here? It's because we have a spirit body that can exist where they are. And don't just say frequency and it's at a right angle in Euclidean space up. I don't think that's what's going on. I think it's different dimensions we're talking about than science. But anyway, so are they just demons? Yeah, so you might be thinking about it in the same way I was, how I started this conversation. Sometimes I didn't know when a shaman who was mentioning this, if they were talking about pre-fall light realm spirits or other realm demons, right? That kind of thing. So or if they're talking about their grandpa. And it looks like you've thought about it in the sense that I have, in other realmly terms and spiritual terms. So that's good. You're definitely on the right track, I would say. I can't answer everything, but we're here just to like help each other put the pieces together, it seems. Like a fall was also like a shattering in the mindscape. Like we're confused because not all the pieces are together in the right arrangement. It's like the puzzle has missing pieces all over the place. They burned the books, people, and then they hid them in the Vatican. Shamans know about this, yes. Thanks for putting the pressure on. The reason why I'm asking you this is because black people seem to have an identity crisis. Some think that they are Egyptians or Hebrew Israelites. Oh, look at that. That's why I was talking about the whole black Egyptian and Jesus theories. Black Jesus. They gotta have him too. Most have a connection to these archon religions, interesting, like the Bible or the Quran. Yeah, I'd agree that they're very archonic, because archon is like a constrictive energy. So when you have a lot of laws, like 10 commandments, but not just that, it's the sickening overtones that are rancid, that are way overdue to be cancelled, and are being cancelled as much as possible every day. But those overtones, the Christian overtones, you know what I mean? They are the annoying things that are archonic. And draconian as well. They think that, don't forget that I think archon eyes are like reptilian eyes, but a little different. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I got the feeling a few times. I'm just not sure yet. And that's multi-dimensional, right? So it's not just, I don't believe that's just like a physical reptiloid or something. Most have connection to the Archon. They think that the 400 years of slavery cost was about them. Yeah, they have a hangover from slavery of some sort, I'll tell you that. They need to chill with that, because it doesn't help their cause. I mean, I think we've pushed past it, you know what I mean? I really do. Why I say it is a manuscript for your doom. Yeah, keep writing that book. Alright. Yeah, anyway, so the other thing, we're gonna have to leave it for another time, the root race theory. But if you guys haven't heard of that, just like Google it, and Google 555 lineage and Moses. Like, give that like a Google search. Maybe you'll find what I did like a long time ago. It was like 14 years ago. Maybe you won't find it because it's 14 years ago. But yeah, I've heard about that shit before, the 4 root races. But I swear to God, that makes me like feel like flat earth theory shit. It starts to get the game board feeling when you have the 4 root race thing happening. Planet Snakeados, we've got China Rising, the dragon. That's the yellow race, right? Isn't it? I'm pretty sure from what I remember reading.